she'll be a bit late. So once more, welcome to this our final evening session for tutoring. So we will be having our revision study school sessions towards the end of August. And this is our Monday evening makeup class, so to speak, for our advanced performance management. Right, so again, meeting is being recorded. Right, so Imran's first contribution for the evening is his apologies for not having additional work done. Well, again, I could apologize also because I was supposed to do two things at least. Finish some more of the questions already submitted and get ready that summary of how to prepare a critical evaluation. So again, my plan for that is to review that lecture we taped where I went through that in detail and just type it up for her. So I will get that done at some point, hopefully within this coming week. So what we can do, Imran, is simply continue with that last question that you did submit and continue marking it there. So it will serve two purposes in terms of getting you feedback as well as helping me get some of my stuff done. If you have any additional queries per se, that's still fine. We can always go ahead and do any other, deal with any other issues that may come up. All right, so let me see if I open that up and start that share where we would continue going through that CFD question, care for dogs. All right, so we did your part A and your part B. No, sorry, your part A, part 1 and 2. So let's see, share screen, share Imran CFD. Good, so let me know if you're seeing the question pop up on the screen now.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Great. So let's go down to what we're dealing with this evening, which will start us off with B part 1. So B part 1 tells us explain, right? And again, as I said, at this level, level 3 ACCA, you can basically approach all of your verbs as if you're dealing with a critical evaluation so that you don't have to worry about the fine difference between the different verbs. Just watch out for the one that says describe or list, which you will hardly ever get. But just in case it shows up, then you would know that you're not going to spend much time there, right? So like this part, see it says identify. Now, if it said identify alone, I mean, it's only 3 marks, but still, if it said identify by itself, then you know you're really presenting just a list. But it does say identify and briefly explain. So again, you're not going through the whole extent of a large evaluation, but remember, as I repeatedly say, you can perform a simple evaluation in 3 to 4 sentences, all right? With the describe, the discuss with both the pros and cons, and your evaluation statement, your conclusion, and the last line. Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sentences. And again, the emphasis is on sentences so that we want to have the professional aspect. We want to have the professional look of your answers where you're not writing phrases, right? So leave phrases and one-word answers for your answer plan and be professional in how you lay out and what words you use and how you use your words and completing your sentences, which can be very concise, right? So we don't want, again, the fluff and all of these things contribute to my analogy of plating a meal, right? So you want to think about how you're plating here figuratively. In other words, how you lay out your words to present your answer to the examiner. And the better, concise English and grammatically correct sentences you use, the better your plating looks, the better your answer looks. And really, it's not just about looks. That's part of the um, professional marks that you will be getting, not only in question one, but it gives you that high, that edge over those students who present in a level two style, where you have again just phrases or one word answers. All right, so back to part B. Explain again what critical success factors are and explain the relationship between critical success factors and key performance indicators. All right, so two-part question. While still only 4 marks, you have to do two separate explanations. Basic explanation as to what are critical success factors. And again, you could describe it. You can say what they are good for, and maybe even throw in when they are probably not appropriate, right? If that's possible, right? But I can't really think of any situations right now. But of course, you could be imaginative with that in terms of finding where a CSF is not practical. But it just sounds like something that would be relevant in almost every situation, right? So if you don't come up with any of the cons there, you can have your basic explanation as a regular type explanation, which is just your definition and an example, right? So that'll really suffice for an explanation. Right, so apart from that, explaining a relationship. So again, the noun in the first part is fairly obvious. The critical success factors, the CSF, is what you need to explain. That's the noun. The noun in the second part, very important to pay attention to that now, which is not the usual. The first part I'm just highlighting here again. So your CSF is your first noun, and your second noun is a relationship. Good. So of course, the relationship cannot be by itself. You have to have the two items, relationship between the CSF and the KPI. All right, so those are the two things you need to explain. So let's go and see how well Imran did at that. So part B, part 1, CSFs. Now again, headings could have been used to separate the two parts, but you start off nicely defining your CSF. CSFs are the key activities which will determine whether or not an organization achieve its objectives. They represent, I have an extra S there, they represent what must be done to enable the organization to be successful. And right, then you go on to KPIs, but hold on. Um, in doing that second paragraph for the KPIs, Imran, did you focus on the relationship? I see that's all you presented, and you move on to part 2. All right, part 2, back up here. Here, part 2 is a separate part. So I'm not seeing that focus on the relationship in your part 1, eh? So you gotta watch out for that. But you understand how I identified the noun as being a relationship, Imran?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was trying to read my answer from my. On the other hand, key performance indicators tells how well the organization perform. In key areas, they are okay. I don't think they say the relationship. I think I'll put on the last line. They are the measures of whether or not the CSF are being achieved. So I'll probably have the last sentence, but that should be in a separate sentence by itself. You see, look here, Professor. They are the measures of whether or not, I'm not sure if that will tell a relationship. They are the measures of whether or not the CSFs are being achieved. I was trying to put a bill of relationship in saying that, you know.
Yeah, that's the closest you got to indicate any relationship part, right? So that's that second part. So let's get back to dealing with the first part, but that's where you'll get links for the second part. So for the first part now, in explaining again, you generally want an example at least. So I'm not seeing an example in there um, to again complete a proper explanation. Now, I just want to go back to the knowledge base a bit in terms of what is this CSF really? All right, so let's see if I can get my answer sheet going. And I'll just borrow from BPP a little bit to see their definition of the CSF. All right, so CFD was question 3. Yeah, so let me just switch the share to that. Let's see if this new share would help me. Share. All right, let me know, Imran, are you seeing the kit now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. So of
Yeah.
course you could use your kit as well. So I'm just
Yeah.
jumping in here to
Okay.
get the definition and compare it to what you gave me. Um, CSFs are your key factors, right? So I don't like how they repeat the use of the word factor. You're trying to define what a factor is, and you use back the word factor. That's not the best way to do that. So they're the key factors and processes, which enable the organization to achieve its objective and thereby achieve future success. In effect, CSFs highlight the areas in which it is crucial for an organization to perform well in order for it to be successful. So, performance areas, processes, these are CSFs. So, if we're switching back to your answer, critical success factors are the key activities. So, yes, activities would line up with a process, or again, what I mentioned here. Um, Performance areas of performance. So things to do, which are activities, which are nicely part of your definition. So your CSFs are activities which will determine whether or not the organization achieves its objective. Um, I don't like your use of the word objectives, but that's exactly what the kit does. So it says the processes which enable the organization to achieve its objectives. I was more leaning towards the CSFs themselves being an objective, but I guess if that's the definition, that's the definition, and I'll have to go with that. Um, so there are these activities, these processes, which again you could say it's a different stage or sub-stage towards achieving the objectives. All fine. So if that's what they are, full marks for that for you. Um, again, I would have liked an example in there, all right, in terms of that explanation, but I'll have to concede that you did give a full explanation, all right. Represents again what must be done to enable success. So with that, let me post you some marks for that. Let's split up that 4 marks. You could say 2 by 2. And if we split that 2 by 2 to get you your 4 marks, let's see, copy this box here. Let me just switch back to share so that you could see again. Back to where I'm marking. All right, so everyone, can you see back the answer script now?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
good. So for this first part, we will post 2 out of 2, splitting those marks up. And we would say good explanation given. All right, so with that, on to your relationship. So the relationship here, as we're saying, the only attempt there at describing a relationship as such is that they are, the KPIs are the measures of whether or not the CSFs are being achieved. All right, let's see how the kit tries to define that. Let's say in CSFs and KPIs, however, once an organization has identified its CSFs, it needs to know how it's performing in relation to them. Simply identifying the areas where an organization needs to perform well does not guarantee that it will do so. Therefore, it needs to measure how well it's performing in these areas. This is done by using KPIs. So again, the second paragraph, they say KPIs are the measures which indicate whether or not CSFs are being achieved. I think that's almost directly what you said. KPIs are the measures of whether or not CSFs are being achieved. All right, so being the measures and having that point well done, is that really the relationship? So the idea of measurement is vital for KPIs. The KPI itself must be something which is measurable. I like to use the word countable. So when you come up with a KPI, it must be something you can count. So if you're not able to count it, then it's a poor KPI. Okay. The relationship. One is a measure of the other. So yeah, that's where the relationship comes in. So back to the question a bit. Explain the relationship. Right. So if we were to put some more into that, Imran, well, what more else you think you could have said about the relationship if you were to build up a more detailed explanation of the relationship?
I could have said, sir, that the KPI stems from the CSF. Um, or KPI uh, um, measure, well, that's what I said, measure the CSFs actually. So, on the other hand, keep on get tells how well I'm going to perform it. But I know one thing I should have put is that they are measurable,
Right.
or that's something I should have put into that they are measurable. But how they relate to this? I mean, from the CSFs come these KPIs.
Yeah,
So
but
the CSFs are
could you
really
not broaden on that same phrase? How does one come from the other?
CSFs are those elements that determine how well objectives are of an organization are achieved. Therefore, the KPI will be um, the measure of these objectives. Um,
Well,
the
not of the objective, but of the
sorry,
CSFs.
the measure of the CSFs.
So how does one generate the other? How does one result in the other? How do you link the two? So I think if we could expand on that linkage, that linkage will be the relationship. And this is where an example could help.
Yeah. At the part B, sir, at B2 they actually they actually ask for one CSF and one KPIs, and I did the examples at part B2.
Right. So
That's why I want to put it here, like
yeah. But again,
Yeah.
what we could have done is probably use some generic textbook examples kind of thing,
All right.
and even
Yeah.
refer to part B as well. Well, part 2. All right. So this is B1.
Yeah.
So all right. So let's see if I could break down for you what I'm trying to say. So we want to talk more about how one is generated from the other. We want to talk more about how one gives rise to the other, right? So expanding on that relationship between them. So we know one measures the other. So again, just like how the CSFs are the proof or the cause of success of the business, the KPI proves that the CSF is being achieved, right? And it can only do this if there is a direct relationship between the two. So in other words, you can't have a KPI that's measuring something and the thing that it's measuring is not really related to the CSF, right? So then there's that de-link between the two items, and that'll be a faulty or improper KPI. So you must have something that actually measures or indicates the level of the thing that you want to achieve, which is in this case the CSF. So if the KPI is not inherently linked, then it's not going to be useful. It's not going to be a proper KPI. All right, I seem to have lost my chat box. So you type something in the chat. I'm trying to bring it back up. More chat. And minimize the chat. No, I can't find it. Okay, there it is. All right, good.
I was just
So,
saying, sir, that I understand it. You make it clear here now. You made
all
it
right.
clear as to what's the relationship.
Yeah, and in terms of what again, I'm saying that they wanted you to explain. So that if you didn't, if you went ahead, in other words, if you went ahead and explain what is a KPI, right, which is kind of where you were going by even talking about the measurability, which is what the kit did. Talking about the measurability only improves the explanation of what a KPI is, but that's not what they ask you to do. They really ask you to explain the relationship between the KPI and the CSF. So maybe half a mark would go for explaining what a KPI is, but you would really get a whole mark for first describing what the relationship is, right? Which is where your second sentence comes in, representing that what must be done, or this sentence down here that you wrote, that they are the measure. By saying that they are the measure, making that link between them, right? So as well, I'll post 1 out of 2 for this, right? So in delving more into why they need to be related and how are they going to be related. So again, I still didn't do that here yet. I said that they need to be a direct relationship. So again, the best thing here, I think, is an example. And we could probably avoid using something from the question or the case and come up with a generic example that would concrete the concept or conceptual example as to how they would now be linked. So let's see, could you make up a little example for me, a case, CSF and a KPI? Something as basic as profitability. So if profitability is your CSF, then KPI could be
Gross margin, net, you have plenty of options.
that's
Net
right,
profit margin, you know.
GP or NP margins, right? So look how simple it is, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be linked directly, or in other words, cause that repetition for the part 2 to come. But it's something that would now solidly bring the picture into focus that you're trying to describe. So you want to describe the fact that the two things need to be inherently linked, right? And that strong linkage between the two to show that one is a cause of the other, or one is as a result of the other, right? Or one measures the other, right? Or in other words, the KPI measures the CSF. If the KPI isn't really measuring the CSF, well then it's a bad KPI, right? So while we know that, we need to now see that basically in terms of um, clarifying and identifying that relationship that the two must be strongly linked, right? So that's why I would post that for you. Back up to part 2. Let me see the question. So the question now for part 2 says, discuss, right? So again, back to the good old concept of getting our evaluation done, because we need that powerful discussion, that convincing argument to show 3 critical success factors of CFD, highlight a key performance indicator for each critical success factor. Now, you have 2 verbs. One says discuss, and the other says highlight. Clearly, that second one's nowhere near an evaluation, so that's like almost list there. All right, so again, you have to watch out for these lower level verbs, while again, keeping in the back of your mind, if you can have the time to deal with everything as an evaluation, well, then that'll be perfect. But of course, the time and the marks would now dictate otherwise. So you still have to do a discussion. You have to discuss these three CSFs. So you not only want to describe it, you want to discuss it. How good they are, how well they will illustrate the success of the business, how they may not. So discussing the tree rather than just describing the tree is going to be very important for getting those 3 marks, right? How much marks the point for a description alone? While generally the lowest you can go is half mark, I really want to go with 1/3 of a mark, because I would give 1/3 of a mark for description, 1/3 for the positive or the pro, and the remaining 1/3 for negative or the con. And I could put it the other way: if you convince me of how good that that CSF is, then I'll give you the whole 2 marks for that. But then it's supposed to be 1 mark each, 1 for each CSF and 1 for each KPI. So, so at this stage, I would say, if you didn't convince me or say that it's a good CSF, or say that it's a poor CSF, then I will not give any marks for description only. All right, so this is where I want to push you all towards that stage of getting beyond the basic description. So the description alone, or the identification of it, that will suffice for the KPI. So once you indicate what the KPI is, you'll get that mark. But you need to have the discussion elements for the other 3 marks. So 3 easy marks on the highlighting or the identification of the KPI. 3 tougher marks to get with the CSF. Right, so let's see how you did. B part 2. So in B part 2, 3 CSFs and their related KPIs are CSF, ensuring high quality and KPI number of customer complaints. And you attempt at the discussion. This will align the objective to the mission statement. What was our mission statement? Scrolling back up. CSF, temporary accommodations. High value for money. Now, VFM is a little trickier. So, VFM reminds me of the concept of modern day Chinese manufacturers. And they are so flexible that if you request a low cost item, they will get the item made to fit your budget. And a budget item or low budget item fit in within the budget. How do you judge quality on a low budget item? What do you think, Imran?
Well, in my view, quality remains the same, which should be well, which should be of a high standard. Means, for example, let's say for curtain, it should be a thick curtain, it should not be thin. But in your explanation, if it's a low budget, right,
Yeah, you
and the
have a
person,
price
right, the
that you
person,
want them to meet. Then you tell the manufacturer, meet that price for
yeah,
producing that curtain.
yeah. So therefore, you're actually going for that quality. So in that sense, you're looking for a lower quality well. So the
That's right.
quality will automatically drop,
So you're
to
asking
be
for
that
low
budget.
quality, in other words.
Yeah,
And if the
yeah.
manufacturer is giving you what you asked for that
Yeah.
lower price,
You actually they actually met your quality. They actually meet
they
your
met your
quality.
requirement.
Yeah, yeah, what you
And
asking for.
therefore, is that not value for money?
Yeah.
Which
Well, it will be value for money because it's what you're asking for. So
exactly, and it's
you
a
in your
little
sense
amount
you'll
that you
get.
wish to pay.
So you'll get value for your money what you ask for.
Correct. So while that's the objective, focusing on how you presented it here, you are saying now high quality was the objective, so to speak. When you say that this high quality CSF will align with the objective of the mission. Now, you might have somebody who, again, let's get back to this specific example. If they only wanted a bath for the dog and not a bath and a shampoo and a brush, and some extra trimmings and cutting nails, they do all those things with dogs. But if you just wanted a bare bath and you were unwilling or unable to pay for the full works, which is shampoo and conditioner and nail clipping, excuse, I need to go and get a mint and a water, so I'll just walk about here a bit. So in that way now, the service that you would be requesting is a lower level service for a lower price. Making sense?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So if the can still very well be value for money and not be high quality. That's a bit tricky, right? Now, let's see how we could marry that with what you mentioned there. Um, having a higher quality as a critical success factor aligns with the objective. So the objective is value for money versus high quality. Okay, but the judgment of it, the discussion of it, is it good, is it bad? that CSF? Is it a good CSF to have? Um, that's just the phrase that I was looking out for, or even if it's achievable versus not achievable, right? So well, I'm not seeing that. I'm still looking at the phrase where you're saying um, how it is in alignment or will achieve that alignment. And achieving the alignment is good, but saying that achieving the alignment is good is what I was hoping for, right? Do you understand the difference of of what I'm looking for versus how you presented it? So
Yes, yeah. I think I
you
was being
said
too vague.
yeah,
I
you
was being
said
too
something
vague.
or you
Yeah,
described something which is good, but
yeah.
you needed to say that that thing that you said is a good thing, right? And by saying that or proving that, and again, it's like it's plating, right? So you put the meat on the plate, but where's the sauce? Where's the garnish? Where's the splash next to it? How they call that when they splash the sauce and they just pass the spoon through it and make it look like a teardrop kind of thing? Um,
I can't say. Uh, I mean, I like to cook. I enjoy cooking, but I don't know the whole. I mean,
plating process, yeah.
I mean,
So in putting it out,
even the terms used and things like that. I mean,
yeah,
I'm told I'm a good chef, but that's it. I
yeah.
myself never dig up to it. I mean, the only thing I can tell you is this girl down south, she must not make doubles again on TV, especially.
Why not?
The girl who I have good respect for. I even have she cookbook here. What's she name again? Wendy Rahmat.
Oh, all
Wendy
right.
went to make the doubles on TV and the bar was tick 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 tick.
Oh no. All
Yeah,
right.
that's poor
Okay.
Wendy, poor Wendy.
All right. So I'm trying to give you a hard time with this first CSF, but I think I might have to relent. So I'll give you that mark there for that. The KPI now, the number of complaints. Yeah, that's not so bad. So that will measure um, quality. All right. So we'll pull down two for that. Compare. All right. Next, to provide a return for shareholders. Now, you want to be a little clearer with that one in terms of a return versus a high return versus a good return or a bad return. All right.
Yeah, on
Go ahead.
I'm no, I was just saying yes. I mean, I wish you should have put high shareholders return or something like that.
Mhm.
I think I was rushing this question. That's why I need to stop
Yeah.
rushing.
Yeah, we discussed that last class, didn't we? All right. So yeah, you need to have that completion element going. All right. Try not to rush too much. Even though you have that time limit, you have to now be cognizant of completion. All right, so again, the general phrase is higher than average, so that you could have what you call the average rate of return, and every shareholder is always looking for more, because if, example again, you have these public investors and the all the shares that are available to them on the stock exchange is given the average return, and your one is also given the average return, why should they choose yours above the others? Right? So then everybody's on the same playing field. So when you indicate now higher than average return, that's what will make your shareholders rush for your shares, right? So that you're giving them more than what the others or what they can get on average. Good. So in defining that level of return, that's going to be important. So again, it has been indicated that the organization is very profitable. Calculation of our CE from year on year will be evidential proof of this criteria. So providing that return and our CE above the prescribed percentage, but you did sort of capture that there with the word above in the KPI. So saying that your KPI or CE needs to be above um,
yes. Sorry.
you hit the mark there, right? So that's good, and that's what I was looking for on the other side, right? In terms of the type of return being provided. But I like your 3 lines below that, which is doing the convincing, right? So it's indicated that it's profitable, and the calculation will be evidential proof. You see that statement where you said will be the evidential proof? That is what's doing now the convincing. Good. So that is what is indicating that your measure is a good measure, right? So you didn't use the word good, but that's a nice phrase. Will be evidential proof, right? So that is describing how good the KPI is. Okay, and that's where I will gladly give you the 2 in this section here. So 2 by 2 so far. I'll leave the little phrase, good explanation given. And the last pair now, operate in a socially responsible manner. And the CSF and its related KPI will document and measure their corporate social responsibilities in practice. And the KPI is number of dogs admitted per year in this sanctuary. Now this one allows you to do more discussion, especially when related to your objectives. So was this CSF indicated as piece of the initial, what was it they gave us up top? Piece of the
No, sir.
initial
Yeah, the objective was that one phrase that we just read, which is to provide a
mission
very
statement. Yeah,
high value for money to our clients. But they're now about to open this dog
change.
sanctuary, right?
Right,
So this is actually a new thing for them, and they haven't
correct,
amended so the
correct.
missions as yet.
And those are things that you could have thrown in here in terms of how good this CSF would have been, or the fact that it is not in alignment with the current mission statement. But that doesn't mean the CSF is not good. That's indicating that the mission statement is not good, right? So something along those lines, I think, would have been the more convincing factor to say either how good it is or how bad the mission statement is, or if you just line it up basically with trying to align it to the mission statement and just say clearly. And again, that could be your pros and cons. The con is it does not line up with the current mission statement, but the pro is that it lines up perfectly with what the new mission statement should be like. Right? Now, if you lay it out like that, that is where that is where discussion comes in. So you're seeing how this point should have been discussed, yes?
Yes, I think my second one was the best. I mean,
Definitely.
I think I'm trying to shortcut this whole answers, and what I'm realizing more and more that, for example, let me be straight to how it is. AAA, for example, does not require so much discussion or evaluation as opposed to APM, for instance.
That's perfectly correct.
Yeah.
Right? And I would take some of the phrases from my good friend Shamid there in terms of, I don't know if you're on the ACCA, how you call
Yes,
that?
sir. Yeah, the
The
webinars.
WhatsApp, the WhatsApp group chat that ACCA has, right?
No. Well, I have the well. Shamid have a webinar right now going on.
Right,
I'm also in Shamid's class actually for
right.
this semester. I started late, but
That's all right.
I did webinar with him last semester also.
Right. And
And he
one of the
yeah
songs he sings,
yeah
which is his advice, is write a little about a lot, and
yes he
but
does that.
that works for APM. Sorry,
Yes,
for
so,
AAA,
yeah
but that cannot work for APM because
yeah
APM, as I keep trying to show you all, is the management level
yeah
and the management perspective. And if you're not showing that professionalism of the manager,
yeah.
then that's what always going to be pulling you down below the 50. You might get 50 technical marks, but
Okay.
if you're not showing that professionalism, APM is the paper where they will downgrade you
Yeah,
because
because
you
I'm
are
looking at,
not
yeah,
focusing on the requirement, the verb.
yeah,
Verb, if you didn't do the verb, yeah, you have the technical knowledge, but you're not answering the question. And
yeah,
therefore, you'll be stuck with those high 40s. Right? So
yeah,
this is what you want to change. I mean, again, focus on that for your AAA, but
okay,
focus on what
right,
I'm showing you here for your APM. That's going to be very, very
okay.
important.
Yeah, I'm like, for example, last exam, I did not do a conclusion. No, sorry, I did conclusion for both
Hmm.
APM and AAA. Although Shimi said, you get no marks for the conclusion in the AAA, I still put a conclusion in,
Right.
just as a precaution.
Yeah, as a completion element, is like filling in a formula, right? I mean, if that's part of the report, that's part of the report. The idea is just don't spend a half an hour on it. Spend a 2 minutes and put something for conclusion's sake, you know, right? But it'll now look complete. Good. And I would link that to what I keep telling you all about the evaluation. Remember, the final evaluating statement is supposed to be a foregone conclusion if you did your discussion properly.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
already convinced the reader that you should accept the project in the discussion, you should write it back in your conclusion, but it's a foregone conclusion, right? And that is how it works. And in terms of, you will get all your marks for doing the proper discussion, and the conclusion is just there to close the loop, right? But it's not really the high mark, or I could kind of agree with you made a little bit in that context, in terms of you wouldn't get a mark for it, but you already did the convincing in the discussion. And if you didn't do that in the discussion, well, then you stand a lower chance of getting a mark for something that you will jump up in the conclusion and say, yeah, yeah, accept. But in a discussion, you didn't prove it to anybody that it should be accepted. And for example, again, the other type of discussion that I'm advising you all not to do, if you laid out both the pros and cons equally by just describing them and didn't do any convincing with it, but you jump up in the conclusion and saying, yeah, accept, that'll again push the market to say, or again, this phrase that students like to use, as shown above, where it can be seen that. When you use things like that in a conclusion and you really didn't show it above, well, that's just making it worse. So you're saying you did something that you really didn't do, right? You're not going to get marks for contradicting yourself in that way, right? So in those ways, you won't get marks for your conclusion. But when you use it properly and you do your other elements of the evaluation properly, which is again the discussion part, your conclusion is just that full stop at the end of the sentence. It is just that concluding point. So do continue to do it. I will never say not do it, because it's part of the formula, and you're not spending an hour doing that or half an hour. It's a foregone 1 minute conclusion. In other words, it's a point of view that you're writing towards, and it's a point of view that you have to take. If you don't have a point of view, then you stand a lower chance of having a good argument, right, or presenting a good argument, because you need to know what you're arguing for, right, which side you're arguing on. So back to this here. For this one, I will use this opportunity to deduct some marks and give you one for this. All right, copy here. 1 out of 2. More convincing should have been done. All right, so let's see if that was Rennie on the chat. Somebody sent a message on my phone there. Just checking that quickly. Okay, nope, that wasn't her. So going again. Next, we are looking at part C. So what does part C ask you to do? Scrolling back up to the question. Part C says, excluding the number of complaints by clients, identify and briefly explain 3 quantitative. It needs to be quantitative and it needs to be non-financial performance measures that can be used to assess quality of service provided by CFD. So number of complaints, not one. Number of what? Good. So you need to come up with 3 things that has to start with the word number. Why am I saying that it must start with the word number?
Because of the quantitative aspect of it. So
Very
you have
good.
a quantitative, non-financial.
Good. It can't be money. That's the non-financial. But it must start with number of. So 3 things that are countable. Those will be. Now the brief explanation, again, is where the minimum marks would be. And in this case, I guess it's fairly weighted. So I could give the half mark here, right? If you identify it without explaining it, you'll only get half mark for it. If you do both the identification and the explanation, even though it's brief, that's where you're going to get the full mark. So let's go now and see what you did for this part C. 3 marks jumping up. So in the first, 3 non-financials. Percentage of dogs collected on time. So, well, it didn't start with number of, but you converted your number of dogs collected into a percentage. That's fine. That will work. So for identification, that's good. On-time collection. This now is a vital part of the service because clients may be traveling, therefore timely collection will be important. Love that. Perfect answer there. All right, and showing how important that CSF is. Very good description. So 1 out of 1. All right, and that's the first one. That's the best piece of your answer that I've seen all day. That hit all the nails on the head. Secondly, percentage of dogs recovered from illness. Are they really operating a sick bay for dogs? Let's see. Caring for these
Yeah,
dogs.
kind of like so. Yeah,
Yes,
they also.
holidays, illness now. They mention illness here, but that's really, if you read this sentence back, right, your second paragraph, first sentence.
Oh, is
CFD
it the person
provides,
himself?
that's right, it's the owner's illness to talk about here. So the idea is if the owner is sick, they wouldn't be able to care for their dog properly. So this is where you send your dog on a vacation and you go to the hospital or stay home on quarantine, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So let's see further if they said sick
No,
bays
I
for
don't
dog anywhere
think so.
else.
Let me see if I did that. Let me see. I don't think. I think that's where I saw the L.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a vet type operation. So the vet or the doctor, dog doctors is it's a different thing.
I
All
think
right,
I
so
was
it's
just.
accommodation, supervision, and they
Trying to hint
don't.
that
They,
if the dog's sick on the while it's with them, but let me see what the explanation. Let me see.
yeah,
Oh,
but I'm trying to first gather information from the
yeah,
case, and
yeah,
I would say if this word illness here is the only thing
yeah. I think
you
I
use
probably
to come up with that, I would say you were misled,
yeah, I missed.
right?
Yes, I think I got it wrong. Yes,
Yeah. So it
yeah,
doesn't seem to be a veterinary type operation.
yeah.
It seems to just be a pet
The
pet hotel, so to
yeah.
speak, right? Which is different from the pet doctor, right? Which would be the vet. So Yeah, you gotta, yeah, they probably set you up with that on purpose, right? So that's where, yeah, you gotta be careful with these things. So I will charge you with less marks for that one. Um, Percentage of dogs recovered from illness. Another aspect of the CFD's operation is to care for dogs which are ill. So that there is nowhere in the case, but at least you laid it out. So I would be giving you some marks for that. So you explain what you think they're doing, which the case did not tell you they're doing. This measure will give indication as to how many of the sick dogs are covered before returning to owners. All right, so I will say good try, and I will give you a half mark because your explanation was good, but I would say identification is where you fell short. So you went along identifying something that wasn't there, right? But you explained it very well if it was there, all right? So half mark for that. Number of deaths, who kill any dogs, man? This measure will indicate how effective and efficient the employees are to care for dogs. It also provides some clarity on the medication. They didn't say that it was a medical facility. Um, I would say you went off on a further tangent on the illness thing there, and you already have half. This is already said in the first one. I wouldn't be inclined to give more marks for the same thing. All right, so again, a different marker may mark it differently, but I'm being a little bit harsh here. All right, I don't see deaths as a thing for this operation, especially as it's not really health based. Right, so not really linked to the case. Okay, so you would get away with illness because they sort of mentioned it, but death is taking it too far. Okay.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
All right, so let's add you up. This is 25 marks. 1/2, where's my calculator? Let's start with this 0.5 here. 0.5 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 0.75 plus 2 plus 0.5 plus 0.5 plus. All right, so grand total of 13.25. I'm going to write that now down to the end. All right. $13.25. And I'll probably round up to 13.5. And the examiner might be grateful and give you 14 out of 25. Now, I would say this is cutting it close, Imran. You don't want to be presenting scripts that you know that you're presenting for 50%. You want to be presenting for maximum so that if they fall short, if you go off on a tangent and if they charge you for things like that, then you know that you're still falling within. So too close for comfort, even though this is above 50%. Okay, so that will be my final comment on that. So any queries there? So I could always send this off to you.
So just one little thing, right? No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for the mark anyway, but let me just confirm back one thing from your board, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
passing part A, I got 3.5 out of 8. The reason why I asked because I was marking it down with a
Mm-hmm.
writing pen as you were marking, right? Yeah, so A, section A, I got 3.5 out of 8. Is that
And hold
correct?
on, there's A part 1.
So okay,
Where's it A part
A1,
2?
yes.
So A1 point
So
five, point
A1,
five, and 2. Um,
that,
out
that's
of 8? No,
yeah, that's
that's 3 and
3.
3, 6, and 2, 8. So you get in, yeah, 2, 3. 3. 3 out of 8.
Three, two out of
Yep.
okay, okay,
Yeah, point 0.5 here, point 0.5 there, and then the
okay.
2.
So it's three
So,
out of 8, right? For A,
yeah.
right? B, B.
Oh,
Oh,
wait,
okay,
A part 2.
right. A part two now. I got how much I got for
Oh,
that?
wait a minute. I have 3 out of 4 here. I think I put
Yeah,
0.75 for that. Oh, ho.
yeah. I
So
think
that's
that's what I was
supposed to
checking
be
up here.
3 marks,
Yeah,
not 3
yeah. That's
quarters of a mark. I was wondering
yeah,
what was I doing there.
yeah.
So
That's
I had
what I
3
was checking
quarters
up.
of a mark. I need to add
Yeah,
in 0.25 to that. And then add the other 2.
yeah,
All right, so that's 15.5.
yeah. That's what I was. Yeah.
Okay, good. So
Okay,
grand
so
total here
no, don't back one. Sorry. Yeah,
of 15.5.
don't back one. No, pass.
15.5. Okay, right. So good. So I'll change my comment there and say can do better.
Yeah.
All right.
So just one
Mm-hmm.
comment today because of the meeting that we had last week at ACCA, with Trinidad specifically, as we were talking the other day.
Yeah.
Today we got this well some some actions were taken by the Minister of Health, where
Right.
they now will reopen schools later September 30th. So they moved from September 1st to October 1st now.
I saw you post that, but is that
Yeah.
official?
Yes, that's official now.
I
And
didn't see it on the news, eh? But
yeah, it came on the news. Well, Data Press briefing today, and
right,
so the changing guys that daycare will be closed also until that school opening until that. But ACCA will have. I'm sorry, but schools can be open for exams purposes only.
right.
So that being said, including tertiary education, there is
Mm-hmm.
a high possibility that we could have paper-based exam in Trinidad.
Right,
I'm not sure if government should change. If government will change, they'll still have to follow the same CMO and the same Dr. Hines and so on.
correct.
So unless they're radical, they won't follow
Yeah,
them. But they might take the guidelines as they give it to them, and it might be the same thing.
yeah.
So more than likely, if that continues that same trend, we might have the paper-based exam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the news might have it just now, 7 o'clock, but I think that was confirmed though.
Okay, good. Right, so that's sort of good news because that computer-based thing had a number of technical issues, apart from not letting you scribble your own notes, to me, which was the worst thing. All right, good. So let's keep fingers crossed for that. So one way or the other, you could
But so
have
the
your
worst thing
exam.
is, but so the worst thing is no bathroom. So no bathroom break.
Yeah,
So
I
most of
mean, so
somebody
you
would
can't
use
even walk with your
bathroom they
water.
done.
If you
Yeah.
walk with your
Well, I don't
water,
say.
and
Well, they say use water, but it had to be in a clear, transparent
yeah, but you do that, and then
bottle.
you'll want to go to the bathroom. That's what I'm
Exactly,
saying.
exactly. You understand? So I mean, and you can't even move your hand. Let me say you want to do it right there. You can't even move your hand because
Exactly.
they're watching your hands.
Yeah, and they'll say,
I just say it.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
being
yeah.
naughty.
Yeah. So yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, once we can get through that, then it'll be one hurdle over. Right. So let's see if we close this one off, and let me see if I get another one of yours that we can attack in the time we have remaining here. Um, right. So screen sharing has stopped, and now I need to get you Another question
You have
that you
JLW, sir.
have answered.
I think that was question 24.
Yeah, but did you send that by WhatsApp or by email?
No, email. All of mine I send by email.
Okay, great. So let me jump into my email now.
JLW. Yeah.
Jump into my email and grab it from there because I didn't download some of it yet.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
J Imran, IMRAN.
Let me. Um,
All right, JLW, got it here. And need to set it up. Let's see. All right, so I'm just transferring it out from the email onto the Word document, and then I'll share the Word document,
okay,
and then
sir.
we'll begin.
Yeah.
So just taking a few minutes to set up. All right, just remind me again, Imran, what number in the kit you think it was? But then again, you may have the older kit. J
So it's 24. Question
LW.
24 in the kit. In the old kit,
Okay.
it's question 19, actually.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but 24 in the new kit.
Great, thanks. So I'll copy in the question first, and then throw in your answers. Right, so I could probably start that share so you could see as I'm building up the question, building up the script for the answering process. So on the first page, I will post in here question. Right, so now that I have the question, trying to fill in your answers now. See, download each of these. It's the first part A, right? 1, 2, 3. We need another page here. 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, Imran, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, good. Let's start. So, starting off with our requirement as usual. So, three-part question, which, as we know, is not going to be three-part answer. So, again, I'd like to illustrate for you all to break down your requirement into its multiple parts so that you make sure that you answer each part of what was asked. If you don't identify what's being asked, then you stand a chance of missing something, and that's going to automatically result in missed marks. So, good old evaluate. So, evaluating what? So, let me throw the challenge to you. What is the noun or nouns plural in this part A for 7 marks? What do you need to evaluate?
So this verb will be a little bit big because you're actually evaluating the comments
Mhm.
of the export division manager. So you evaluating her comments, that comments. So that should be a whole noun. Evaluate comments of the export divisional manager.
Very good. Yeah, so that's in one word. So at least this question allows you to have a one word verb here, which is the comments. Good. So of course, what the comments are, we'll now expand into that. And this is where you could then break the comments if there were multiple comments or comments dealt with multiple items. Those will now be the different items, so the different subheadings within this question, right? The different elements of the comments. So good. So that's what you want to evaluate. Again, no theory. You're not evaluating the net profit. You're not evaluating her performance, right? You're evaluating the comments based on those things. So you're not evaluating the business either, right? So let's see. Let's jump in here and see if we have more information in the case as to what were those comments, right? So come on, let's go again. So company background, tubes of paint. All right, so just give me a minute. Having a little, okay, so it stopped. All costs incurred, domestic division. The beginning. All right, performance appraisal, 2 divisions. All the markings remain from the previous question, so I was thinking I could have used these back.
Oh yeah, it's just on the right here, sir. Performance
Mhm,
appraisal summary in the end to the first paragraph. Summary.
mhm. Extracts from the management accounts.
a little bit lower, right?
Right. On being told that she would not be receiving a bonus, oh my gosh, the manager of the export division has started her comments, has commented that she has had difficulty in understanding the bonus calculations. All right, so the bonus calculation is what we're looking for a division, as it is not based on a traceable profit, which would consider only items which relate directly to division. She also, so there's a second comment here, does not believe that it's appropriate. So the appropriateness of it, that net profit margin, or the appropriateness of net profit margin we used to appraise her performance is the same that which is used to evaluate exponents of the export. She has asked for a meeting to discuss this further. Right, so it's two things that she's looking at, right? The bonus calculations and the appropriateness of net profit margin.
I think A, though, tell me if I'm wrong, A deals specifically with that comment with respect to net profit margin.
Well, let's see.
Well, it link
Evaluate the comments.
yeah.
All right, so it doesn't just say comments of the export manager full stop, right? So it continues to kind of identify the comment, which one it wants us to evaluate. Comment that net profit margin used to appraise our own performance should be different from that used to appraise performance of export. So yes, you're right. So that part A only deals with one of our comments. Good. And at least they directly laid it out for you here. Right. So if it had stopped by the word manager here, then you would have needed to go on and find the two comments and deal with both. All right. So you only have one comment to deal with here. So fine.
Sir, but why they put comments in plural? I mean, you see, they put comments, you see, evaluate the
Yeah.
comment, but then it when
Yeah.
doesn't tell you that only this one comment.
Correct. So it's because the comment is so long, I think is why they would have had the S there, because clearly it's not itemized as multiple comments. So we would clearly have two, focusing on the calculation and then on the appropriateness of this. Now, of course, appropriateness as well as profit margin used to appraise her own performance should be different. Yeah, that thing I think is a slip there, because this is definitely not more than one comment. It's one comment. All right. Whether the manager should receive a bonus. So part B deals with a calculation, so to speak, and C advise whether EVA is appropriate. All right. So good. So one comment to evaluate, and let's see how we could really break that down. You can break that down in terms of different reasons why it's now going to be appropriate or not. So evaluate her comment. Anything else in the case that we could be given that would link to that comment?
Yes, few things in case that link, and they specifically ask. Well, she specifically stated so right in that same paragraph with performance appraisal about controllable costs. That's one of the key things I feel they were looking for here. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and those things specifically deals with bonus and appraisal of a manager versus appraisal of a division. Control costs, not lack of authority to alter investments. Those kind of things actually I think push you. There's always be pushing to answer questions like these. And they were in India and they were actually in the and in this specific scenario too has a one slight difference with is the weakening of one of the currency. because they have two different currencies. There are two divisions here. One
Mm-hmm.
investment division and one is see, one is an investment division and the other is a profit division, I think. And one is investment center and a cost center.
All right, so export and domestic. So other overheads, bad debts, equal portions, debt and equity.
You want me to read the question, sir?
Say that again.
Do you want me to read the question?
If I want you to read it,
Yeah.
well,
So you can get the points out, maybe, you know.
I'm reading it here.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you could point out the items you think that will be
Okay.
useful to the argument if you wish.
Okay, let's see. Jensen Lewis manufactured two divisions, domestic divisions and export division, both
Note
basic.
1. But both of them generating revenue. How is a cost center? Why you class one as a cost center if both of them
Sorry,
generating
let
revenue?
me see. So the export division is a profit center. And exports all of its products to Sealand, where customers are in Sealand dollars. The domestic division is an investment center, sells only, so both of them sells actually, and sells only to customers in Kayland. And the export division is a profit center. So
Right, so
although
those
they
are the
both of
two
them,
centers there.
yeah,
One being investment center and the other one being your
a
profit center.
profit center. Yeah, and then they were done the capital expenditure.
So export. So because she's an export and she is therefore the profit center,
yes,
she's complaining about the use of what was the measure again?
The profit she net profit margin,
Net profit
to
margin.
assess her performance as opposed to the performance of the division. She said it should not be used to assess both the performance of the division
and the manager.
And performance, manager performance. They
Right.
have.
Okay. So. Management performance. What theory you have that links with that? Well, what is this question therefore based on? Performance management, advanced performance management, which is again the name of our paper.
Yeah.
How do we separate? What is the theory that separates manager's performance from a division's performance? Where are we going to be able to pull things from?
That's it should be in chapter. Let me see. That's chapter 8. Chapter 8 is private sector. Chapter 7. See performance.
Chapter 7, strategic performance measures, performance measurement systems.
No, sorry, I think that might be the lower chapters after one of the lower chapters where you
Performance measurement and strategic HRM issues. So if I do a little search here for manager or manager's performance,
In my old book is chapter 11.
mhm.
Which deals with HRM issues, performance measurement, and strategic HRM issues.
So what in that chapter, well, what is this subtopic that deals with that specific measurement of managers? So that's
They
chapter
have a
16 in the
discuss.
little summary.
Oh, okay. They have discussed and evaluate different methods of reward practices. Discuss what gets measured done. Include how management style needs to be considered. Yeah. Target setting. They have a target setting here, but
Because the only thing that jumps out from my memory is responsibility accounting,
that's
where
something that's how I answer the question. Kind of like I answer from that perspective.
mhm,
I base my
mhm.
answer based on more responsibility, like responsibility accounting, but I
Yeah, but
tap
where is that
into
in
this
our
in
syllabus?
responsibility accounting. That I think that might be just a little maybe part of a bigger topic.
Yeah,
But chapter 11, sir, in my old book, it deals with these HRM issues and how to
yeah,
assess like
but
truth.
is
I
it
mean,
really the HRM issues?
it should be true, fair. A reward system should be fair. It should show ownership, achievability, and those kind of things.
Yeah, but
Target setting and performance-related pay.
is that for lower level employees or is that for managers or is it for both, as you're trying to say here? Individual versus group reward schemes. All right,
Yeah.
so in that same chapter, dealing with your strategic HRM issues, it goes into Fitzgerald and Moon and so on, right?
Yes, it went into Fitzgerald.
So, as well as Hopwood. So all these things you could probably combine in terms of how to focus on an individual, right? Um, and that's where the strategic HRM stuff comes in. It's really the focus on the individual. So now the alternative views, which is a chapter that comes next, it's chapter 13 and a little summary here. Um, brings in some of the other stuff, multidimensional, um,
Balance scorecard,
non-financial, right, balance scorecard.
performance
They
pyramid.
mentioned building block again, and performance pyramid with Lynch, right, Lynch and Cross. So VBM and ABM a little bit. Managers need to focus on creating value for shareholders, activity-based management, improving cost management and value engineering. Right. I would say those two chapters can come in handy, right? On the HRM as well as on the alternatives for performance measurement, because it's not specific to departmental measurement, and a balance scorecard again can be for either the individual or the department, right? So you have all these different performance measurement systems, and they could be applied to either or. The question we're having is, should what is being applied to a department such as net profit be the same factor to use for an individual manager, right? And we could link to reward schemes. Is it motivating, aligning the employees' risk preferences? Is it fair? And those types of things. All right. So let's get back to the question. Evaluate the comments. So in that evaluation and in doing that brief overview of some theory, what is your judgment? How or what's your point of view? Do you support or do you not support the export division manager?
I support export division manager's comment. Well, I support
Right.
her.
That therefore individual's performance should be different from that being used to appraise the entire division. All right. So, okay, what's your reasons for supporting that?
Okay, let me see answers. So let me see.
Your answer or which answer you're looking at?
No, my answer here. Okay.
All right, well, I can bring that up too. Let's go to it.
Yeah.
So, if you are supporting it, let's see how you did that. Export division is a profit center. Therefore, the division has both costs and revenues. Revenue is in from exports. Costs are incurred for running the division. The manager will not have the authority to alter the level of investment in the company. Both the division and the manager is assessed on the division's net profit on revenue, which at December was 6.8 as opposed to target of 8. Division's manager is reasonable in saying performance should be assessed differently because, let's see what you write for because, controllable costs. There will be costs which will be included in the net profit margin calculation to which the manager has no control, but will affect the results. Allocated overheads, for example, if this cost is added back, you would now have a net profit margin of 11. Lack of authority to alter the level of investment. Head office purchased new production machinery at the beginning. Increased depreciation expense. On the other hand, lack of investment in capital, could result in lower production.
It's slow, sir. It's like slow production.
Yeah, slower
Yes.
production due to old machinery. But wait a minute. First you said more investment. Now you're saying lack of investment. Wait, did the
Well,
question indicate if there was investment or not, or you
yes,
just
yes,
dealing with the
sir.
two sides?
Well, I was dealing with two sides, but the question did say that there was investment. There was an investment
Okay.
in the division.
Hmm.
They actually invest 2.5. Well,
Right.
not her, the senior management, because she doesn't have the
Correct.
authority to do it.
Correct. Because she's a cost center. Oh,
Yes.
sorry, a profit center.
So
So it was evident that the purchase of the new machinery did increase production. So, is that good? Is that bad? The weakness of the KL against the SL, or weakening.
apparently during 6 months of the year,
Mm-hmm.
they let me get my question here. Right, let's see the question. I think I had misunderstanding first. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
scratch a few things in my answer down here. It
Mm-hmm.
says here, where it says that. It says here, right, in capital expenditure, right, on capital in the notes with capital expenditure paragraph, the last line. On June the 30th, that's the last line on the capital expenditure note.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It says on June the 30th, 20x6, the KL dollars weakened by 15% against the SL pounds, after which the exchange rate between the two currencies has remained unchanged. So, and they are dealing with the KL dollars. So, if the KL dollars weaken, then if the KL dollars weaken, then the profit will show more. Sorry, the revenue will show more because they're selling, KL is selling to SL.
All costs are in KL, so you have to pay out KL. So you're not importing anything.
No, no, you're
And the
exporting at
exports all its products to Ceylon. Customers are invoiced in SL. Prices are fixed at the start of the year. But hold on, if prices are fixed, are you going to get any increase? You're not getting an increase in price, but you're getting an increase in KL because you're going to convert it
exactly,
at a
yes.
better rate.
Yes, you'll get increase in KL.
Mhm.
So although there was a weakening in KL dollars, and she is the domestic division. Um,
No, she's export.
okay, right, she's export division. Sorry, right, she's export
Yeah.
division. So
So
therefore,
she's continuing to get the foreign currency.
yes,
And
it's
she
she'll get,
has no foreign cost, and that's a good thing about her.
yeah.
Right.
So she'll get more than what, at least in value, because her dollar
Mhm.
weakened.
Yeah.
So I think I made it out when I put this comment here, but I tried to
Mhm.
change it around when I scratched it up when I write it after when I realized what was
Mhm.
happening. So if you
Right.
read
So
my answer here, you'll see I kind of
yeah.
scratch up this point.
So weaken versus strengthen. Yeah. Let's see. Weakening of the dollar. If the KL weakens by 15% for 6 months, it would be more in Thailand than if the exchange rate was at the same level throughout the year. This will increase revenue and ultimately the net profit margin calculation in a positive manner. Right, so this works as a positive for her, even though it still is again something that she is unable to control.
Yeah.
So while the division's performance could be assessed or evaluated, on the net profit margin, this should not be the method used to assess the manager's performance based on the issue discussed above. Now you see that's the phrase that I want you to avoid using, based
Okay.
on the issues above. I mean,
Okay.
if you didn't do a proper discussion, then you're claiming to have done a discussion, but still all the same, you want to still prepare a conclusion like this. And maybe a combination of financial net profit margin and non-financial criteria such as time submission of reports, accuracy, punctuality, and so on. Used on a weighted average method would be a more fair method to assess a manager. All right, so yeah, bringing in the other stuff. So okay, so yeah, I hear you with the responsibility accounting, and it's really the controllable costs, right, and being fair to the manager. Um, is the key thing in this discussion here. So, so, any points for the argument that net profit margin could be suitable?
For well, all I said, well, in the conclusion, I said it
Mm-hmm.
could be a combination. You know, you could
Right.
probably use that with along with some other evaluation,
Measures. Yeah.
some other measures. You know,
Yeah.
there's a
Good. So you want to still bring that in because that is, again, while you're bashing it, you want to not ignore its strong points. So it's there, and you can't ignore its benefits and just deal with disadvantages only.
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So you should have done a little more than that. Now the other thing with that, you don't want to bring in new information in a conclusion. That now sort of expands the conclusion, making
Yeah.
it too large. And conclusion really wants to just be that summary point of everything you said already, right? And that's where I would kind of support Jamid in saying you won't really get marks for that because you said it already, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so you want to watch out for that bit, bringing in new stuff there. And you would want to have had a little more in terms of emphasizing some of the pros as to why it was being done, etc. So let's see. Out of these were given 7 marks, right? Evaluate her comments. She has one comment that the net profit margin should be different. So
Let me see the answer what they have.
yeah, let's use that. Let's use that for some comparison.
Yeah.
So that's question 24, GLW.
Well, look at the examiner's comments,
Mm,
the examining comments team for A. I say A specifically. To
mm,
score well in this part of the question, it was important to pick up the on the issues mentioned in the scenario and examine the impact on the question. Those candidates who did this scored well in this part.
mhm,
Um, the marking scheme, evaluation of managers' comments, 1 mark per relevant point, and then second thing, traceable net profit calculation, 2 points, 2 marks, total up to 7 marks.
mhm,
What was the answer? Want to give a long answer?
mhm.
Okay. and the price, for example, costs which are not control. Okay, uh, at the back is a percent of division one are not able to make capital investment decision out of their control and should be added back to the dollar weakness. Okay, they mentioned that this man export division is among my deducted. Oh, in it. So we see one thing with them, the answers, at least the PP people, they don't up and put headings.
Yeah, and that's something you can use definitely to improve
Yeah.
on the presentation. Right, but it seemed to have the same points. So you did hit the point with the
But they
um
went when they went and calculate back, they did a little calculation here too with the
mhm,
11.3%.
yeah. All right, so the controllable cost with the investment and the depreciation and the weakening of the dollar. So while they benefited it, was that benefit controllable, right? And therefore, that point that they're making about removing that additional benefit or removing that increase in revenue. I'm not sure if I remember your answer mentioning that.
And
So
but
while
if you remove it also, right, you will get the calculation of 11.3%. See, I think that's what I did. 545.
you removed it,
Um, I think.
all right, let's jump back to your
Oh,
answer and see.
allocated head
So if you
office
removed it,
cost.
that was good.
But I did a calculation
You got the
to
11.7.
get it. Yeah, and they have 11.3.
All right. So
That's bad.
935. All right. So I'm only saying you're adding back here the
Yeah,
545 plus the 390, getting 935. So comparing to their total, um, 905, right? So you didn't reduce yours. So they reduced
okay.
theirs. So
Okay.
3.7 is not, sorry, 11.7 is not 11.3. And that difference of the 30 million. Right. So, I mean, even if you didn't throw it in the calculation to identify the profit from it, um, where did they work that out?
They have
Workings,
them in the answer. They put it 535.
working,
They add back allocated head office costs and then traceable net profit 905.
deducted that currency gain, controllable profit margin, no,
It's
10.4.
no, so I don't think that they deducted either.
Well, they did say that
Yeah, they did say it
trace,
in the comment though.
yeah, add back allocated head office costs, traceable net profit, and then traceable net profit margin. So they took the
The entire revenue 8 million. It they,
net
have to
profit of
get the
545. Add back depreciation, overhead costs. No, they have it down below in working, where it says controllable net profit calculation.
oh yeah, but that's
Um,
part B.
yeah,
That's part B. That was a different part B is a
okay,
different yeah
right. So
calculation.
for with A now, how they come up with that 905? Let's see, back to the question body. So 905 is what they're working with. To get to 905, export gross profit sale, taking the 545, 360, and depreciation of 395.
Yes, they took the 545 and add back traceable head office costs only.
Okay.
and they got the 905. And 905, it was just an estimated. It's really just
Yeah.
an estimated what it will be like. Because in
Yeah.
the actual calculation in B is when I actually did everything in detail.
Right.
10.4 they got. How much I got? Let me see. 10.4 is my answer. 10.4, 9.5.
Okay. So look at the comment they made. Traceable net profit of export division after adjusting for allocated head office costs was that, and the traceable net margin was 11. So they dropped the 11.3 down to 11. Yeah, so they mentioned it, but they didn't calculate it. You're right. So, okay, so your answer is quite good. Again, the evaluation, pros and cons. So you're not evaluating each point that you're making, you're evaluating one point or one statement that it should not be used, all right? You supported it, so that was your point of view, to say that you are in support of that, so at least that direction in your argument was clear. The only thing I will charge you with is not having enough of the other side, right, in a discussion. So if you're
Okay.
discussing her point of view, and her point of view is don't use net profit margin,
Yeah.
you should pay more justice or more attention to the other side in terms of what was the benefits of using net profit margin to
Okay.
to measure, to appraise a manager, right?
Okay.
And we clearly saw the only credence you gave to it was in your conclusion there, which I'm
Yeah.
saying that's the part that you could have improved on, right?
Okay.
But your pros or your arguments for your point of view were very good, all on point. All right. So I would say that here, arguments for your point of view were well made. The discussion was, however, one-sided. How do you spell sided?
Extra D, 2 E's. It should be 1 E. The end, 2 N had to come off, 2 letters at the end, I think.
Side,
Yeah. Okay.
sided. It sounds like a DID is missing. Sided. Or is it DID over here? That doesn't look right.
No, it doesn't look right.
Considered. All right.
So it's like,
Sided. Okay. That just seems like the past tense of side. But anyway, DED did. SIN did. Okay, good. Discussion, however, was one-sided. More could have been said about the benefits of using net profit margin to assess the profitability, no, not profitability, the manager's performance of a profit center. Now you see,
okay.
look how I'm laying it out here, right?
Okay.
So that we're
Okay.
talking about net profit margin, profit
Okay.
center. The two of them just naturally aligns you know.
Okay.
So if she
Yeah.
wasn't a profit center and if she was a cost center, well, then you have that glaring difference, right? So it
Yeah.
must have some credence in using that. And as you rightly say, it could be one of the things. It shouldn't be the only thing,
Yeah.
right? But bringing out that side of the argument, um,
Okay.
you need to have brought it out more. Right now, of course, you're not going to lose half the marks for that. So
Yeah.
it's just a little bit I'm going to bite out for you there. And I'll probably post you here 5 out of 7. All right. 7. Still say well done. Okay, so that's where we'll call it a night for
Okay,
your
sir.
part A.
Yeah.
And we did some research that went all over the place in trying
Yes.
to find what could have been done. When it came back to that simple concept of responsibility accounting and aligning what um, should be controllable, right? Now, of
Yeah.
course, as they rightly mentioned, which is something we touched on as well in our discussions,
Yeah.
that you have to relate it to your case, right?
Yeah.
And we sort of emphasizing that in that examiner's comment, as you rightly pointed out. Good.
Yeah.
So keep studying, and this is not
Yeah.
the last feedback you will get. I will be
Okay.
sending stuff in these weeks ahead,
Okay.
and keep poking me and reminding me as well, or sending
Okay.
new stuff
So
as
could you
well.
finish off this one and send the mark?
Sure, yeah, that's a
Thanks.
plan, yeah. So to
Yeah.
continue with this one
And
first and finish this off, and
yeah,
then move on to the others.
I will try and send those 250 markers. That's the
Right.
is Metis and
Yeah.
Metis and the other one that we did is tomorrow I don't have any class,
Right.
so I'll do questions tomorrow night for both papers, and then Wednesday I have a webinar, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday nothing. So I'll do so,
All
and
right.
then we home Monday, election day. So
Good. Wow, you
that's
get the
it.
whole day off?
Yeah, thank God.
Oh,
I was
excellent.
well. No, what I do, I have
Maximize your
some
time.
yeah, yes, I'll try and study. I have some backlog too at work, not my
Oh,
creation, but I pick up actually. So I usually go into work on Saturdays
right.
to to catch up with that backlog and
Hmm.
eventually reach day for day, day to day. So that's why.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
All right. So remember all the
Yes, sir.
revision plans and so on. So keep up
Yes, sir. Thanks.
with everything and keep studying. And if you have any particular questions you want answered before any of the others that on the
Yeah.
list that you submitted, let me know, and we
Okay.
could keep chatting on the WhatsApp.
Okay, sir. All
All
right.
right. Well, take
Thanks.
care
Okay,
and
take care,
enjoy your
sir.
night.
Thanks.
And
Okay, you too.
thanks again for coming out.
Thanks.
Goodbye. Yeah.
Bye bye. Thanks.